This is video 2 of 3, so if you are watching this and you haven't seen part 1, I would pause this and go back to part 1 so you can get the first 3 items on the list. This time we're going to start with supplies at the desk and go from there. We'll see how far we get. The first thing I want to say is that it's really important to keep the area around the desk without any clutter. I know that in the past we've had parents complaining about their students grabbing items around the desk and messing with them or playing with them. Sometimes parents have toys around the desk. So in order to keep your student focused, keep those toys and different items that are around the desk off of the desk so there's less for them to look at. Keep that external stimulation kind of down by keeping that area really clean the best that you can. Maybe that's a job that you give the student, once a day, is to kind of clean up that space, make sure it stays clean. You're going to want to supply your student with either a whiteboard, pen and paper, or number and letter tools, and also sticky notes. The decision that you need to make around that would be if you have a student who does well with a whiteboard, that may be what you want to use for your student. If you have an older student or somebody that you really want, a kiddo that you really want them to be using pen and paper, then you're going to want the pen and paper there. Some people are going to want both the whiteboard and pen and paper. Sometimes using the whiteboard is easier when you're doing something like math so that you can get rid of the numbers that you wrote down and start over. That's a lot easier on a whiteboard. The letter number tools are just something that I thought might be really helpful for if you've got a kindergartner or a first grader or somebody who's struggling with reading and they're at a basic reading level. You may want those. It may help. And then sticky notes are really important because they're going to be given information such as how to do a project, how to log on to some new program, or something that's going to be due later, what they want the students to do when they log into a group setting. So those sticky notes are going to be important for lots of different reasons. You may also use them for reminding them of certain things throughout their day. So, just think about what level your child is at as an individual and which one of those kind of first 3 items there would be important to have, or maybe 2 of those 3. But if they don't need, such as something like paper and pencil, if they don't need it, don't put it at their desk. You're just going to give them something else to be distracted about. This is sort of a side note that I wanted to add in. This is kind of a great thing to do with your sticky note, or if you have the ability to laminate or tape something so that it lasts longer, or put it in some kind of protector sheet. I would put together sort of a help sticky note that has maybe 3 things that are commonly going to be an issue for your students. So I can't read the assignment, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do, I missed some information, or I forgot how to do this. They're just some examples. If I were you, I would choose maybe 3 that you think are going to be commonly a problem for your student. And a lot of times kids get really stuck and they get frustrated and they have a hard time explaining what their problem is or asking for help. So it would be really nice if you had some way that they could explain what the issue is. Sometimes we get distracted and we're not listening when the directions are given. Or you're going to have a student that maybe can read the directions but don't understand what they really mean, and they're going to need some direction. So having a little helper sheet for them to maybe check a box with their dry erase pen or something, and then they can come and bring it to you and tell you, I'm stuck. And or maybe that's some prompts that you give them so that they can ask the teacher, I can't read this, I don't understand. A lot of kiddos that can't read, we can add a visual next to the I can't read the assignment. So maybe you just add a little, I know we all aren't probably great drawers, but maybe, you have a little book next to I can't read, and then maybe I don't understand, maybe it's a light bulb, do something visual there. So if you've got, say, like, I don't know, a first or a second grader that doesn't know how to spell assignment or understand, some of those bigger words, if you use a visual next to that, then they'll remember what each of those mean, and they can actually type that up to the teacher. So sometimes just having those letters right in front of them will really help. Or you could open a Word document and write those things up for the student and then teach them how to cut and paste. They probably all know how to do that by now because our kiddos are so savvy. And have them cut and paste that into the help box to the teacher. So however you want to use that, but I think it's really important that they get help when they need it. So be thinking about what kinds of problems you think that your student is going to come up with and what you think is going to be most common, and this will really be helpful to you. Not everybody needs a fidget. And also, just because you have a student who fidgets with things and gets distracted super easily does not mean that they're not a good fit for a fidget either. Those are both things that I think are typically a worry for parents around fidgets. Chances are, though, if you have a student who tends to fidget with things throughout their day and has a really hard time sitting still and focusing, they likely are a good candidate for a fidget. So I'm going to talk about what kinds of fidgets students should be using and what kind of fidgets should not be used. A fidget spinner is not the kind of fidget we're talking about. So if you were thinking, I'm not going to get my child a fidget spinner, that's probably a good thing, because we're not going to do fidget spinners. We want something that is really simple and doesn't do a lot of moving or doesn't do a lot of anything. So we want to make sure that whatever we're allowing our child to fidget with, it's not going to do a whole lot. We can have fidgets that are cheap or free. So you could do something as simple as 2 Lego pieces, and that's it. They can come apart and they can be put back together. I've got a little piece of paper here because I have had students in the past that they like to rip little tiny pieces of paper and put them into tiny little balls and throw them on the ground. If you have a student who likes to do that, you could just simply put a little garbage can under their chair and they can tear little pieces of paper. Not a big deal. You could also do a paper clip. Paper clips are really simple. They don't really do anything. They might squish your finger. You could put it on your finger and take it off. You could use a piece of Velcro and stick the Velcro underneath the desk, and they can play with the Velcro under the desk. So there are a lot of ways that you can do cheap or free types of fidgets. We want to make sure that whatever fidget we're using does not require thought. So you don't want something like that cube fidget everybody has seen where it's got different buttons and it does a whole bunch of different movements. You don't want a fidget like a Rubik's Cube or something where you're actually looking at it and thinking about what it is doing. You wouldn't want to use a fidget that was like a Lego guy where he can walk and his head can turn. Any of those kinds of things are going to require thought, and anytime we are thinking about what is in our hands, we're not looking at what's on the screen. You also don't want a fidget that will kill anybody. This is a joke, but we definitely don't want one that can be thrown across the room, thrown up in the air, and hit somebody in the head or get somebody in the eye. So you want to make sure that if you have a student that likes to throw things up in the air or throw things at their siblings, you might want to choose one that's softer or gentle. Or when fidgets don't work, hands down every single time, it's because the rules were never taught. So I always set up fidget rules every single time I work with students. I go over those rules. So that means if I were to do the social skills group, and I were to sit down with the group, and I were to hand out fidgets to everybody in the group, you know, students who don't want a fidget will tell you, I don't want a fidget, or I don't need a fidget. But those that do, I always ask them, what are the fidget rules? And I can use those rules throughout my time with the students. So using your fidget, you can hold it, feel it, move it around in your hands. So you can see where I'm not saying, don't do this, don't do that. It's all what you can do. The second one is eyes on the teacher or computer screen, not on the fidget. So I'm reminding them that if they're going to use it, their eyes need to be able to see the teacher, and their ears need to be able to listen. Often I will say that as well. The fidget must stay in your hands, or put it back in your desk. You know, you can use whatever kind of wording you want, and you can do this on a sticky note. This doesn't have to be, oh, I need December's really special little cute posters. You can just put this on a sticky note. Just say, remember, you can hold it in your hands. Your eyes need to be on the teacher. Your ears need to be able to listen. Make sure your fidget stays in your hands, because if it keeps falling on the floor, then you've got a kiddo that's obviously not listening either. So the whole point of a fidget is to help you pay attention and keep your hands focused. So a fidget will really help your students stay focused if they are able to play with it in their hands and be able to focus on what the teacher is doing. So fidgets can be really useful. And also, you know, you may want to set up rules for, like, you can tell that a certain topic or a certain subject is harder for that student to sit and listen. That might be when you use the fidget. You know, you may not want to have your child using it all day long, because that will be distracting. But if you use those fidgets in moments where you really feel like it's needed and they really need something to help them focus, that might be a great time to use a fidget. One last thing I wanted to add about the fidget rules is this is another visual. We've talked about 2 visuals in this video, and just remember that if you have a student that cannot read, you can use visuals to show these 3 rules. You can have eyeballs and a little teacher. You can have you know, a picture of a fidget in someone's hand. You can have a picture of a carpet with a line drawn through it. You can draw all of those things. Maybe not well, but you can. So you don't have to have a printer. It might be nice to be able to, you know, use some kind of clip art, but it is also okay to use stick figures. Kids will remember what those rules are every single time you go over those rules. And I think you should do it, you know, every single day or right before you hand them the fidget, to just keep them remembering what those rules are. They're not going to just follow the rules if you give this to them the first time and then don't follow up after that. They're going to need it at least every day until you know for sure they're really good about knowing what they need to be doing with their fidget. All right, I am going to cut this one short as well. We'll do a 3rd video. So watch for the 3rd video. And just keep up the sharing. I've been seeing that lots of people are inviting their friends and or family members to join the page. So keep that up. Again, please comment, like, let me know what you think. If you want some more information on something, please let me know. I'm here for you guys. Thanks.